Hello Year 7 and welcome to your first online class in science. We're in week 9 and this is lesson 1 on Monday morning, and what I've done is I've made you a screencast recording, so this is on YouTube, so that you can watch my instructions, rewind, go back and watch it again and make sure that you're following the instructions absolutely, and if something distracts you, you can always go back to this later. Okay, so this is for our first lesson. What we will do is I introduced the idea of density on Friday when I saw you. So we'll continue with that idea in Education Perfect today. But before we go into that, I want to set a few rules around how you're going to work at home. There's a few things I'd like you to do. Now, the first thing, maybe this week, or it may be over the Easter holidays, is I'd really like you to get your different subjects and your different materials organised, so that everything's in its place, and you can find that not only now, but also at the end of the year if we go back to these ideas that we're teaching you, or if you go back to it in Year 8, it might be useful. And some of the ideas we teach you in Year 7 are actually not taught again and very important for your learning later on in science or in other subjects. Okay, so make sure that you have a space to keep all of your notes, and that they're organised into subjects and into topic areas. Okay. The other thing I'd like you to make sure that you do as you learn online from home is you do plenty of exercise, so you stay moving around. It's really easy to sit still for a long period if you're learning from a computer. You're not moving from classroom to classroom, you're not going from Bayview to Frogmore, and therefore you're not doing that usual incidental exercise. So stand up as you're watching videos, or move around every 10 or 15 minutes. Go and get yourself a glass of water. Make sure that when you don't have lessons, so during the recess and lunch break, you're going for a walk, or you're playing outside, you're going to jump on the tramp, something that's quite active. Okay, really important for your learning that you're not sitting still the whole day, because we can't learn for 6 hours straight, so you need to break that up with something quite physical. Okay. Let's get down to today's lesson. So open up the Education Perfect lesson on density. So as I said, we introduced this on Friday. I'd like you to open it up, and I've got it on the screen here. So this is one of the introductory pages. It's really important that as you learn online, you're also making some concrete notes. And sometimes it's easy to copy down the information from the screen. More useful to you from a memory building perspective to make those notes slightly different, so to write them in your own words. But here, for example, it explains how to calculate density. So I would definitely write out this formula into your notes, and you'll actually notice that in the introduction it sets out some learning intentions, so they're actually quite a good title for today's lesson. Then ensure that you have notes that include things like what mass is and how we measure it, what volume is and how we measure it, and certainly the formula. The other thing I'd like you to do is make particular note of any new ideas or new terms that you see. And then as you go through the lesson, there will be, let me see if I can find one, some questions that you're posed. Now, to ensure that your notes are a really useful resource later on, I would like you to make sure that you write worked examples of at least one or maybe two of these questions down. Maybe one easy one, including the answer, and one that's a little bit harder. So here, I don't know if you can see past, let's move my face down a little bit. Okay, here, an elephant has a mass of 5,490 kilograms and a volume of 15 meters cubed. Calculate the density of the elephant. So going back to the formula that we looked at earlier, density is the mass divided by the volume. So you will need a calculator for today's lesson. I tend to use my phone as my calculator. Hopefully you've got one of those small calculators that just slides into your pencil case. So the sum that you need to do is 5,490 divided by 15. And what that will give you is 366 kilograms per meter cubed, and that's how we measure density. What I wanted to show you is that it's really useful for you to actually click the answer and then press check answer. And what this shows you, can I scroll down? I've lost my mouse. Come back. Is it actually gives you a worked example at the bottom of the page. So I actually can't move that around, unfortunately. Oh, yes, I can. Yep, maybe I can. No. Sorry, my laptop's gone a bit crazy. That gives you a really good example of how I'd like you to set it out in your own workbook. Because what that means is that if you go back to being tested on this later and you're trying to revise, you can actually see your own work in front of you. Okay, so as you work through today's lesson, I'd like you to answer all the questions, so check your answers as you go. Pay particular attention to any mistakes that you make, because that's a really good opportunity for you to work out which bits you're not clear on yet. Okay, what I will then do is set you a little quiz, and I'll send you a link to that quiz. I might be able to do that through Teams or check your emails, and I'll just see where everybody's up to with their learning on density for today's lesson. Okay, and then we will move on Tuesday to another topic and another activity. If this video if you're not completely clear on what you need to do, just watch it again, go through the steps, complete the activities. I will be on Microsoft Teams waiting to support you. So if there is a particular area that you're struggling with, please jump onto the chat, send me a quick message or post to the whole team, and I can support you from there. Or otherwise we can have a video chat via Teams, and I can work through any difficulties that you have. Okay, happy learning.